You know, when you think of great rulers, you probably picture someone who was, well, always great. But what if one of history's most famous champions of peace actually started out as a brutal, ruthless warmonger? Well, today, we're going to get into the incredible story of India's Emperor Ashoka. It's a real roller coaster. And that's the big question, right? How does a man known for his cruelty, a conqueror so feared that enemies would tremble at his name, how does that guy become known to history as Ashoka the Great? Let's dig in and find out. Okay, so let's set the scene. In his early days as emperor, Ashoka was, well, he was the exact opposite of peaceful. He was a merciless conqueror, driven by this relentless hunger for war and expansion. Honestly, his name alone was basically a weapon. And you gotta understand the scale of his ambition here. Ashoka had this one all-consuming dream to unite the entire Indian subcontinent under his empire. And he was ruthlessly good at it, just steamrolling one kingdom after another. So, he's on the verge of making his dream a reality. His empire is massive, stretching far and wide. But there was one last piece of the puzzle. One kingdom that stood defiant, refusing to bend the knee. The kingdom of Kalinga. And this is where things take a really, really dark turn. When Ashoka's huge army finally marched on Kalinga, it wasn't just another battle. No way. It became one of the most brutal and horrific wars that part of the world had ever seen. The human cost was just staggering. I mean, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around the sheer scale of the slaughter. We're talking thousands upon thousands of people, soldiers, civilians, everyone killed in the fighting. The scene after the battle was something out of a nightmare. Just pure carnage. Ancient accounts paint this incredibly grim picture. The rivers literally ran red with blood. Ashoka had his victory, but the price was just unimaginable. And this is the moment everything changed. After the fighting was over, Ashoka walked through the ruins of Kalinga. But there was no joy in this victory, no feeling of triumph. This was a hollow victory, if you can even call it that. As he looked around, he didn't see the glory of his empire. He saw the real cost of his ambition. Endless fields of bodies, children crying for their lost parents, families completely shattered, all because of him. It was right there, in the middle of all that devastation, that he himself had caused, that he asked himself this one simple question that would change the course of history. Is this my victory? The answer, of course, was a deafening no. And in that moment of realization, the ruthless conqueror inside him began to die. That day, something deep inside Ashoka just broke, and a new man began to emerge from the wreckage. This was the absolute turning point. Ashoka literally put down his sword and vowed to never wage a war of conquest ever again. He totally renounced violence, embraced Buddhism, and dedicated himself to a new way of life he called Dharma, a path of peace and morality. And the transformation was night and day. The same man whose name used to bring terror to people's hearts now became a symbol of peace and compassion. It's got to be one of the most dramatic 180s in all of history. So what was this Dhamma all about? Well, it basically boiled down to three core ideas. First, and most importantly, completely abandon violence. Second, live your life based on truth and compassion. And third, treat everyone, and he even included animals in this, as equals who deserve respect. But here's the thing. Ashoka didn't just have this personal revelation and keep it to himself. Oh no, he put his new philosophy into action. He had these teachings carved onto massive stone pillars and rocks all across his empire, so that every single person could see them and learn this new path. So, after a life with two such different halves, what's his ultimate legacy? How do we remember Emperor Ashoka today? Do we remember the conqueror or the king who found compassion? And that's the fascinating thing. When history talks about Ashoka the Great, it's not celebrating the empire he built with his sword. It's celebrating the man who found his own humanity in the ashes of war and then spent the rest of his life building a legacy of peace. Ashoka's story really makes you think, doesn't it? What is true strength? Is it the power to conquer and destroy? Or is it the courage to change yourself and, in doing so, change the world?
I think his life gives us a pretty clear answer. True strength isn't in the sword, it's in the ability to change hearts.